You're listening to Catholic Chicago. Ahead, the Archdiocese of Chicago brings you programs about the people, events, and issues that touch our lives. Welcome to Catholic Chicago.
Good morning. Welcome to Catholic Chicago on WNDZ 750 AM 312-255-8408, 312-255-8408. Also get us on youtube.com/Catholic Chicago, youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. On this Monday morning, last Monday in June, Father Greg Sakowicz, the rector of Holy Name Cathedral, and co-host Mark Teresi. I'm thinking of your new title, Mark. You're no longer executive director.
Special assistant to you.
To me. Okay, well, welcome, Mark. sounds terrific. How was your weekend?
It was very good. Miniature golfing with our granddaughters.
Did you get that hole in one?
No, but our son got one, but Lydia got four.
Four
our 8-year-old got four.
Holes in one.
Yep.
And miniature golf place over on Devon?
Devon Lincoln over there.
Boy, that's
you probably
been there
passed it a million times.
That's been there for years. Was it crowded?
Very, very crowded. They have two,
courses?
18 holes, how you crisscross and stuff.
It's amazing, we were saying off the air, that this Saturday is July 1. It's like, was it 4 weeks ago today was Memorial Day, and a week from tomorrow, the July 4th holiday. So it's just flying. It's just like June's almost over. And
people enjoy some of this beautiful weather.
But we do need rain.
Yeah.
April was incredibly dry. May, dry. First 3 weeks of June, scattering of rain. So we are moderate becoming severe drought in the Chicagoland area. I feel for the farmers in Illinois, Iowa, Wisconsin, that their whole livelihood is based on the crop season. We're not getting rain.
Did it rain here in the city? We were in Evanston, and it was...
It did rain. I think it was Saturday evening into yesterday morning. Some, I'm not sure how much, but again, 312-255-8408. And also get us on youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. And you're listening to WNDZ, Catholic Chicago, 750 AM. 1 year ago, the city of Highland Park experienced a horrific mass shooting at an event that should have been a joyous celebration of the community. This Saturday, July 1, a massive healing will take place at Immaculate Conception in Highland Park. Joining us this morning to talk about the faith community in Highland Park and the Mass this weekend is Marvin Zabito, who is a parishioner at Immaculate Conception in Highland Park and also the business manager at Most Blessed Trinity in Waukegan. Marvin, welcome to the program this morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm praying for the rain as well. It means I won't have to move the sprinkler around the yard this month.
Well, the thing is, Marvin, you've been a regular guest on the program, usually with Father Tim, and who's unable to join this morning. But just to get that first part that I mentioned, on July 4th, 2022, a beautiful day in the Chicagoland area, a day of parades, a day of gathering, a day of family celebrations. The whole world had eyes watching in Highland Park with the horrific mass shooting that morning with the parade. And as you told us on the program the last time you were here with Father Tim, was that the day of the parade in Highland Park, you were actually at the parade within about 25 to 50 feet of the active shooter. Am I correct?
Correct. I do volunteer work in Highland Park. I'm an emergency response team for the last 15 years. I support the police department for special events, and normally we don't have that type of event there. So I was probably 20 feet across the street and about 10 feet up because the shooter was up at the big drugstore there called Ross, which is a local institution. So
And now you were you ground level, or you were a few feet up yourself?
No, I was ground level, so you could look up and see the bullets coming down.
So did you actually see the shooter in action? Could you?
I did not see the shooter in action. I saw the shots, and all of a sudden you heard the screams and the noise, and so you immediately run to see what's going on and how you can help and support.
So it started out as a beautiful, beautiful parade, and people gathered along the side of the street. How much of the parade had passed you by before the shooting started happening?
It was an initial part of the parade. The high school band had passed, and the celebrities had just passed, and the police department and the fire department. And so that was the initial part of the parade. And then the floats were going to start coming, including one for our own parish. July 1st, we just had my church, our parish in Highland Park, Immaculate Conception, had just officially joined with St. James Parish in Highwood. So normally we have a parade float, and the staging area for the float was a little ways back. So thankfully they weren't in direct harm, but all the floats were staging and working their way through the line.
Now, how can you ever be trained for an event like that? What do you do? What do you do? What did you do?
What did you do?
I think I've trained for 15 years, and Highland Park has great resources. I mean, I'm trained in CPR and first aid and AED and how to use tourniquets and crowd control, those type of things. And I don't know if you're ever really ready until the moment happens. And so the first thing you just try to do is try to get people out of there as quickly as possible. You know, people kept saying, I got to get my chair and I got to get my purse. Just get out there. Just leave, right? Leave. And it's easier said than done in those type of situations. Then you just try to take care of the injured, the people that went down. It's right across the street by Walker Brothers, where most of the people went down, the Pancake House. And so you went over there to try to see what first aid you can do, how you could get help until the next level of paramedics and EMTs took over, police. And then after the professionals came back, then you start dropping back, doing things like traffic control. We used the library as a staging area, but at that point, no one knew where the shooter was or anything of the sort. So the library was normally closed on July 4th, obviously, but they opened it up under these special circumstances. And so one of the things I did was try to let the library know this is a good person let in, right? And so, so little things like that you don't think about. And then eventually when it became escalated and we started getting support through all sorts of mutual aid agreements with other police departments and fire departments, they used the Highland Park main train station for Metro as a staging area. So I did simple things like taking water and food to those people serving as well.
The thing is, when the actual shooting began, Marvin, like you heard the first bullet or bullets, you probably thought it was maybe somebody shooting off firecrackers?
Yes and no. You don't anticipate a shooting, obviously, but firecrackers have a little bit more an even rhythm to it. If it makes, it's a little bit more sporadic, whereas a gun is more even from the tone of it. So pretty much right away in about half a second, because I've been around some guns and I've heard it, so I knew it wasn't firecrackers.
And the thing is, and the actual shooting was about how long? 30 seconds of shooting, 45 seconds, 1 minute?
Oh gosh, it happened so fast. I really don't remember. I don't know. 15 seconds. It just, the kind of machine gun he was using, it just, you press the trigger and it just keeps going. So
rapid fire.
Yeah, rapid fire gun.
No, how did the parish react? What was their role in this whole? I remember seeing some things on TV, but how did the parish get involved in this immediately?
Yeah. Several ways. I said our parade float was in the staging area, which was by the metro station a little bit down the road. And then obviously they told all the people the parade's over. So Father Hernan, our new pastor, effective July 1st, 2022, sought shelter in the basement or the church sanctuary of Immaculate Conception Church, which isn't that far down the road. And he was letting people in there, protecting people from safety. They started praying the rosary and trying to do everything they can. So I think that it was in a unique way, it brought our parish together. Highland Park and Highwood are two different communities, both wonderful in their own ways, but it helped accelerate that process that I don't think anything else could have done. And nothing like a tragedy like that or an event like that to bring people closer together.
Now, in the days following the horrific shooting, I know that Father Hernan was heavily involved, and you continue to be. We were opening up the church for prayer, and people coming to the parish to talk to Father Hernan, and you had like emergency crews to deal with the horrific shooting, to be able to spend time with people who had lost loved ones or loved ones who were injured. So say more about that, Marvin.
Yeah, I think it's everyone, we learn this thing is a journey. Highland Park's invested tremendous resources as far as taking care of the community, as far as the language they're trying to let us use, the resources available. So we had a mass. We had everyone together. And so, the bishop was there and some other people. And so I think that was a nice part. But again, people like that, we learn it's a journey. And everyone goes on their journey in their own faith, in their own way. And some people try to compartmentalize it. Some people have to verbalize it. So it's, the church has been open. And again, as sanctuary, we saw, like normal in times like that, the largest mass attendance we saw in a lot of times. It's bringing people together, just that community.
What about your journey, Marvin, this past year? How have you dealt with what you experienced, what you saw, and now moving forward?
I think I focus on the good. Again, every once in a while, the July 4th will be a different day, obviously, and have some new emotions to it. But I try to focus on the good I saw that day. We had, again, people that run immediately to the fire, people take care of people, realize that 99.9% of the people are good in the world. And that part of it. And I think that's what's kept me, again, fortunately, I've got a strong faith, and that's helped me as well. But I continue to encourage people that need resources to get the resources. Again, Highland Park did a tremendous job. I think at one point there was 130 social service agencies there helping people whenever you need. So even still, the Highland Park Police Department, since I work with them if I need any help, or the fire department, they have resources available to police officers and fire department people, and I have access to those if I ever want to avail myself of them.
So Marvin, you're a pretty steady person. What did you need this year?
I need to re-engage, if it makes any sense. Again, I think that, as I mentioned, everyone has their own, the center went off in the room I'm in. But I jump back into things, if that makes any sense from my perspective. And so I was able to compartmentalize it, move on. So thankfully, I don't think I've had any serious things from my perspective.
Well, is the parade happening again this July 4th? Has been postponed.
No, the city spent a lot of time trying to figure out what they should do this year. And so they're having a 4-part approach. The first part is they're going to have a memorial service at 10 o'clock in the morning over by they built a little area to honor the people that died. And then they're going to have a walk, no parade this year, but you do it by registration only. No people can watch from the side or anything from and so I think that's for those people that want to mourn, those ones who aid in the healing. And the third part of it, they're going to have a picnic. And so for those that want to make it a little bit more celebratory event. And in the evening, we traditionally had a fireworks show, but we're not going to have a fireworks show this year. We're going to have a laser show. And so I think that's shown some compassion. So the city's brought in tremendous resources, even the verbiage you use. I saw Highland Park Strong. And I don't pretend to be a mental health professional, but they're trying to change the verbiage on it from Highland Park Strong to Highland Park United, to Highland Park Recovery. So little subtle things like that we don't think about oftentimes, or instead of moving on, moving forward. And so instead of saying, I understand, I'm with you. And so I think it's, it did a tremendous job of bringing not only the 2 cities together, but also brought our 2 parishes together, which I think it's been on a long way in merging them. There's
no question that what happened that day changed lives forever. I know 7 died, countless injured. I think of that poor little 8-year-old boy, with his twin brother, but he was paralyzed, shot, and that family's life has been changed forever. Others too injured, and it's with you the rest of your life. So I really like the approach the city is taking, that four-part approach to remember, to honor, to still continue to grieve. There's a wonderful line that says, grieving is a process, recovery is a decision, but grieving one must. And so it's, and very fact, Marvin, you were present that day. But also I thought about this. As the bullets were flying, you were trying to get people out of harm's way. So you yourself put your life on the line because one of those bullets could have hit you and you go down in trying to help others get out of there. And I'm sure you didn't even think about that because your reaction was to help others who you saw hurt and people screaming and scurrying. And you were in the middle of the action saying, get out of here, leave your chairs, get out of here, get out of here. And, but you yourself put yourself in harm's way at that moment, thinking of other people first. So, God bless you, Marvin. Yeah. Mark, take us to break. Don't go away, Marvin. We're going to continue the program with a new angle in the second half.
Yeah, you're going to stay with us for the second half of our program, and we'll talk about some of your wonderful ministries that are happening because of your leadership. We'll be back. WNDZ, 750 AM, Catholic Chicago, 312-255-8408. You can go to youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. We'll be back in a few minutes. Please stay tuned.
Caring adults make all the difference in the lives of adolescents. Catholic Charities understands this, and our mentorship programs provide a free opportunity for young adults to spend time with volunteers who genuinely care about them. This program is ideal for youth aged 9 through 12 who may need support navigating the challenges of childhood and early adolescence. Our amazing volunteers serve as friends who help youth recognize their strengths and empower them to reach their full potential. Catholic Charities conducts a thorough background check on every volunteer, and our program coordinator closely monitors and supports every relationship. Mentoring is a fun after-school program that can help young adults build confidence and enjoy fun activities with their peers, too. To learn more, visit CatholicCharities.net or call 312-655-7970 in Cook County and 847-782-4224 in Lake County. We're connecting youth with great role models. Join us today.
People always say, how can you spend your day with 3-year-olds? Seeing the changes that they go through and just the journey and how they grow, this is a very rewarding job. Even though at the end of the day, we're not the highest paid people on earth. And when I have a parent contact me and say, my child loves school, that to me, I'm setting that foundation for their love of learning. Because really, you are changing lives. You are molding lives.
Shape the next generation of leaders. Teach. Apply today at archchicago.org/schooljobs.
Catholic Charities' Family Self-Sufficiency Program has assisted thousands of single parents who are working to become more self-sufficient through education and employment opportunities. Our experienced case managers accompany participants for up to 5 years on their journey to identify, address, and break down barriers to improving their quality of life and achieving meaningful goals for themselves and for their families. Professional, compassionate assistance is offered in a safe and trusting environment as participants develop the skills needed to become financially stable and able to support themselves. Every achievement starts with a decision to try. To learn more about Catholic Charities' Family Self-Sufficiency Program, call 847-782-4233 or visit CatholicCharities.net.
We're back, WNDZ, 750 AM, Catholic Chicago, 312-255-8408. You go to youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. Father Greg Sakowicz, Mark Teresi here with Marvin Sabito. We're talking, the one thing we want to make sure we invite people to is the Mass of Healing, which will take place this July 1st. Marvin, can you give us a little background on why this is happening and how the parish is hosting this for your community of Highland Park?
Yeah, I think thankfully Bishop Grab is going to come and spend some time with us on this coming Saturday at 5 o'clock. So I'll invite Immaculate Conception Parish, or campus, I should say, going forward in Highland Park. I was at Mass this past weekend. In addition to the Mass, there's going to be anointing, and there's also going to be a tree dedication. So as I will see a beautiful oak tree outside the parish church that's going to be dedicated to those that died in their memory as well. That I think it's a wonderful thing to do. My dad died in 2000, and we planted 2 trees back in New Orleans suburbs in his favorite park. And I remember the nieces and nephews growing up, they would say the Pop-Pops tree, right? So it's a way of honoring, but also showing that life goes on and hopefully can live through them. And so it's a wonderful touch. So all are invited. I imagine there's going to be a big crowd there. They've also invited some local dignitaries as well. So we're thankful to Bishop Grab for celebrating the Mass with us this coming
Bishop
Saturday.
Jeff Grab is an outstanding auxiliary bishop. So again, this Saturday, July 1, 5 p.m. Mass, Immaculate Conception in Highland Park, all invited for a massive healing to remember the horrific shooting of last July 4th, 2022, part of the parade route there.
People of all faiths are invited.
Everyone's invited.
Correct.
Okay.
I think it's in addition to, of course, being a Catholic Mass, I'm sure it's going to be economical in nature. All are welcome, and we stress that. Right? We have a fairly significant Jewish population there, and they were affected as well.
So all are invited this Saturday.
Yes.
And just maybe switch gears a little bit, Marvin. Also, you are involved as the business manager at Most Blessed Trinity Parish in Waukegan. In the program we had the last time with you and Father Tim, we were talking about the gun buyback event, food pantry, soup kitchen. So that gun buyback event, if I'm not mistaken, garnered about 165 guns that were returned that Saturday.
Correct. We actually collected 166 guns, everywhere from a BB gun to an Uzi machine. So it was successful beyond all expectations. We didn't know what to expect when you do a totally new event like that. Waukegan had never had one, so you prepare, but you don't know what happens when you flip the switch. We had people lining up. The event was scheduled to go from 11 to 2, and people are lined up an hour plus in advance. So finally at 10:15 in the morning, the police department said, let's go. And we had a line continuously from before we opened until we closed at 2 o'clock p.m.
So which means 166 guns were returned. Now, what was it that for a smaller weapon, people received $25, for a bigger weapon, $100? Was that it?
That's correct. So you drove your car up into the police department. They wouldn't leave your vehicle. You'd pop your trunk. Police department would take the gun out. They would take a look at it, determine whether it's a big gun or a little gun, and they would give you a voucher. You'd pull up to another part of it where we'd give them cash to be on their way. A big part of it, though, we wanted to share anonymously. We didn't want anyone identified. We want to ensure that time and time again. So I think we created a lot of trust and confidence in that way. And we also wanted to make the church be viewed as a safe place, as a sanctuary for that. And so we're very thankful that things worked out so well.
And any stories emerged from any of the folks that came through?
It's interesting, the dynamics of it. The police department knew some of the people that came through.
Oh, okay.
And so they said, but again, we promised that we'd be able to turn it in, be totally anonymous. There would be no repercussions of any sort. So sometimes they tell me this was person here or person Y, but all was, we honored that. And I think we're already starting to plan the event again for next year as well.
That's amazing. Anything from a BB gun to an Uzi, and the voucher was given. People then move up, got the cash for the guns returned, and no questions asked. And I would have thought from that event, if you'd asked me on the air that day, Mark, how many guns will be collected, I would have thought 50.
Right.
Never 3 times that plus.
Now,
which was
Marvin,
a great event.
As how long have you been the operations person at Most Blessed?
About 4.5 years now.
Did you ever think when you took the job you'd be running these kinds of events?
Yeah. Hopefully one day that's what you want to do, right? I think it's, in addition to running the business side of it, it's the community outreach that makes us a good partner from there now.
And,
Of course, because we're abreast here, we're starting another event. We're going to have a community day at our St. Joseph's campus, which is on Martin Luther King, which is a very underserved area of Waukegan. So we have 20 community partners coming there, health partners, all sorts of things. So it's always what we can do next.
Yeah,
And I think that's.
and your word
we
is
have.
journey. You're on that journey, that ministerial journey.
Right. I think back to when Marvin just said, when you asked the question, did you ever think you'd be doing a gun buyback as part of your ministry? A great line from a John Lennon song, life is what happened while I was making other plans.
No.
It's a great line. Life is what happened while I was making other plans. We think we're in control. We're not in control.
No.
But somehow to be able to trust God, to trust life, and see where the Spirit leads. So it, Marvin, it's amazing how many times you've been on the program. You're always so, as Mark said, it's very even keel. You're a man of very, very deep faith. Talk more about the great work at the parish regarding the food pantry and the soup kitchen. I'm sure that's still going, that's ongoing every day.
Yeah, the numbers just continue to be phenomenal. I pulled some May numbers for you just for comparison from May 21 to May 2022. Our food pantry was up 50%.
Wow.
Between May 2022 and May 2023, we're up 220%.
Oh, my word.
The soup kitchen, similar stuff. They're up 25% between 2021 and 2022. And another 50% between 2022 and 2023. So the need's there. And so it's continues to grow. We continue to find new ways to serve, creative ways to take care of people. And so we're thankful we're able to do it.
That's amazing. That's just incredible.
Did you ever worry about being able to meet those needs, or do you sleep well at night?
Sleep is an interesting concept.
I think once I was sleep is overrated, which I know, but you know it's not. I know it's not.
Yeah, I get up every day. I say a prayer. I work in paying the bills, and the good Lord provides. We just a shout out to St. Vincent de Paul and Wilmette. They just donated a large refrigerator and large freezer to us. Just got delivered this past Friday.
Beautiful.
It's because serving so much, we have needs for increased capacity. And so they're just one of the many partners we deal with. And so, yes, I worry all the time, but then you act. And I guess that's the key. You try to make things happen in a proactive way. So you reach out to additional partners. And I think it's a easy story to tell when you see people, you come in, they see the operation, they touch, the people, they see what's going on, and it's, how can I help? And so there's no lack of ways people can help. Again, you can reach out. We love volunteers. So if you have any desire to serve in that way, please, let us know. We're thankful for those who give monetarily, those who can give their time, effort, energy. And so we continue to proceed. But again, we're looking at innovative ways. As I said, the community day is something we've never done at that campus before. So we already have 3 health providers coming out. We have Erie, we have Blue Cross Blue Shield, we have Jewel giving childhood immunizations out. We have everyone from the library to elder care. How do you get people to the doctor's office and to the grocery store? And so lots and lots of partners will be out again this coming Thursday.
The thing is that a good way to end the program is every morning when I get up, a prayer that I say in the morning about 10 times a day just to myself, it goes like this. Lord Jesus, may I trust in you completely. Then I know you are with me. Then I shall not fear. And you, Lord Jesus, will do the rest. Lord Jesus, may I trust in you completely, that I know you're with me, that I shall not fear, and you, Lord Jesus, will do the rest. Mm-hmm. A prayer of trust and surrender, a great way to begin the day and throughout the day, because life is so hard. And we want to thank in a very, very special way this first half, Marvin Zavito, the Operation Director at Most Blessed Trinity Parish in Waukegan. Marvin, you are a man of profound faith. We thank you for all that you have done. Our prayer is going to be with the community this weekend in Highland Park, especially on Saturday and on Tuesday, July 4th, 1-year anniversary of the horrific shooting. So God bless you. Keep up your great ministry. I'm sure you'll be back on the program soon with Father Tim O'Malley. So have a blessed week coming up. And I'm Father Greg Sakowitz along with Mark Teresi on WNDZ 750 AM, Catholic Chicago, 312-255-8408. Also get us on youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. Stay with us. We'll be back after a break. And again, do not touch that dial.
Do you have an old bicycle that's not being used? Consider donating it to Catholic Charities Veterans Bike Project of Lake County. Skilled volunteers are refurbishing bicycles to make them safe and ready to be used by veterans to get to and from their new places of work. We also gratefully accept financial contributions that are used to purchase bike helmets and other safety accessories. Our veterans have faithfully served the United States, and now it is our privilege to serve them. For more information on the Veterans Bike Project of Lake County, call 847-782-4219. That's 847-782-4219.
I am a seminarian.
The church needs compassionate and well-trained priests to help guide each of us through life.
What inspires me, what draws me always to the priesthood is continue to see priests be a beacon of hope for other people.
You can play a part in the education of these young men as they prepare for a life of service to others.
I want to be that beacon of hope too, and it sets my heart on fire.
To support our seminarians, make your gift at archchicago.org/seminarian fund or call 312-534-7959.
The cemetery ministry is a core ministry of our Catholic faith tied to the corporal works of mercy. It's comforting to know that our Catholic cemeteries are caring for the remains of our loved ones awaiting the resurrection. There are 44 Archdiocese of Chicago Catholic cemeteries willing to help you in your time of loss. Call 708-449-6100 or visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org. Catholic Cemeteries, serving the Catholic community since 1837.
You're listening to Catholic Chicago. Ahead, the Archdiocese of Chicago brings you programs about the people, events, and issues that touch our lives. Thanks for letting us be part of your morning. Now again, Catholic Chicago.
Welcome back to Catholic Chicago on WND 750 AM, 312-255-8408. Also get us on youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. Father Greg Sakowitz and Mark Teresi join us here on this Monday morning. Mark, there was an incredible first half hour with Marvin Zabito, having been there the day of the shooting. He actually is a hero. He put his life on the line as the shooting was happening, trying to get people out of harm's way. That's incredible.
And how important church is during these times.
To gather together. So we have a great second half program lined up. Food deserts can be described as geographic areas where residents access to affordable, healthy food options, especially fresh fruits and vegetables, is restricted or non-existent due to the absence of grocery stores within convenient traveling distance. Join us now to talk about the issue of food deserts in the city are Larry Campbell, Dwight Hearns, and Sandra Botello. So Larry, Dwight, and Sandra, welcome to the program this morning. How are all of you doing?
Very good.
Hello, good morning.
Good.
Very good.
Thank you for having us on.
Oh, sure. Now, Larry, are you out of the hospital?
Yes, I am. I'm
I'm
doing much better, and I thank you very much for your concerns and prayers. I really do appreciate
I've
it.
been doing radio for 44 years in the Archdiocese. I've never had a guest on
From the hospital?
from the hospital.
No.
And I'm sure, Mark, you haven't either. So
No.
so when you were in the hospital, I thought, here's one tough customer. Larry Campbell's in the hospital, in the bed, doing the radio program. I thought I was quite, and by the way, you were outstanding from the hospital room, Larry. I was
Right.
very impressed. Sandra, are we pronouncing your last name correctly?
Botello.
Botello, okay. That's what I thought. So it's
Or botello en español.
Yeah, that's what I
Oh.
was thinking.
Okay, look at
Mateo.
Mark showing his
Bilingual. That's
skills. His skills. So, maybe for a moment, tell us about these food deserts, or talk. Who'd like to just maybe kind of tee up the whole conversation on what is the situation and the gravity of the situation? It's either Larry, Dwight, or Sandra.
I can try because it's a topic that's near and dear to me, as I wrote on this, I researched and wrote on this topic to complete my dissertation. So I am actually Dr. Dwight Hearns because of the research that I performed on this subject. And just most recently, like 2-3 months ago, I published. And it's necessary to publish in order to get your physical degree. So
where'd you get your
the research is published?
Where'd you get your degree from, Dwight?
The Chicago School of Professional Psychology.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
A lot of work.
A doctorate. That's amazing. How long did it take you to do it?
About 4 years.
Well, that's congratulations,
Yes.
Doctor. I like that. And so give
I
us.
do too.
And by the way, it's well earned. Every paper, every class you took, every course. So tell us about the subject. I mean, my gosh, you have a doctorate in it. So tell us, what is this whole food desert's about?
Food desert is about people that don't have access to fresh fruits and vegetables within a mile of where they reside. Should people have to go further than a mile, it is time, money, and effort as to what you need to do in order to attain a healthy eating lifestyle. All right. And I did my research in Chicago in a particular community. And in the 1970s, it wasn't like that. Okay. In the 70s, there was white flight out of the community as there was migration into the community from the South and other areas of the city. And those grocery stores followed those people out to the suburbs. Okay. They followed them to the suburbs because they found it really kind of easier to do business with, and the consistency in doing business with them. Now, let me just back up a little bit to say that the term food deserts came from a Scottish public housing authority in the early 1990s. The term appeared in a 1995 government publication for a working group of low-income project team of conservative government nutrition task force workers. And it stresses lack of affordable food, lack of affordable ability to buy food. It has also been adapted also here in the States, but the term was mostly for poor people, low income. But where I did my research, in the community I did my research, we don't have that issue. It's a mixed income area. There are some lower income and there's some middle income and slightly above. Okay. And so, but we fought for 5 years. We went 5 years without a major grocery food store in our community. We have one now, and it's okay, but it's not what we really wanted. And we only still have the one grocery store.
Now, what area is
Okay.
this, Dwight, by the way? What area?
South Shore.
Okay, South Shore. Mark?
We are all residents of South Shore on your broadcast this morning.
Oh, okay. All of you, all right.
Now, Larry, how are you connected with this effort?
Well, only in the sense what Dwight said. When I moved into South Shore, there was not a local market. I mean, there were a lot of pop-up stores on the corners, but they charge 2 or 3 times as much as a grocery store.
Right.
And normally their food is not as fresh and as nutritious. So, and then the other thing is, during my work as a volunteer at the parishes, I run into people, of course, who are looking to see if they can get some help and resources. And as Dwight said, in many cases, traveling more than a mile is difficult for some people. And it's hard on their financial aspect in terms of their income level.
And how about you, Sandra? How do you connect with this whole group besides being in South Shore?
Well, for me, the term food desert was very new. When I first moved here, I moved into Chicago in 2014 or so. And the year that I moved here is when they closed down the Dominick's, where we now have the new grocery store. So for 5-6 years, we didn't have a local grocery store. And then the city was also, when I first moved here, I had a car. And by getting all these tickets, because they were just the way that they do the ticketing system here in Chicago, it really affected me because they took my car. So it was hard to go to the grocery store on the bus with a couple of kids in a cart. It limits what you can buy. It limits how many times you can go to the grocery store. With a car, you can go whenever you need something, like, oh, I need a loaf of bread, let me get in my car and go. But with public transportation, it does make it a lot harder. And what we had here to substitute that is just stores at the dollar store. So my son, he was a regular at the Family Dollar, but what can you buy there other than like high carb, salty food and canned food? There's no fresh fruits or vegetables. It's just difficult.
Makes a huge difference. Take us to break, Mark.
Sure. And I remember growing up, there's 7 of us, and my dad and mom did not have a car. So the grocery trekking was with a cart, and it was maybe a mile or more away. It became part of your weekly routine a lot of time.
And you were living where, Mark?
Well, I was actually living, but this is a long time ago. I was living in Lincoln Park, where there still weren't the grocery stores. The National Tea was way down Diversey. We were way west of that. So I understand the transportation part. And the other thing, maybe when we come back, let's talk about senior citizens. How do they manage in a situation like that? WNDZ 750 AM, Catholic Chicago, 312-255-8408. And you go to youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. When we come back, we'll talk about food desert and what are our guests doing to help alleviate that issue, or at least bring that issue to light to most significant people that can make the changes. We'll be back in a few minutes. Please stay tuned.
Catholic Charities' Family Self-Sufficiency Program has assisted thousands of single parents who are working to become more self-sufficient through education and employment opportunities. Our experienced case managers accompany participants for up to 5 years on their journey to identify, address, and break down barriers to improving their quality of life and achieving meaningful goals for themselves and for their families. Professional, compassionate assistance is offered in a safe and trusting environment as participants develop the skills needed to become financially stable and able to support themselves. Every achievement starts with a decision to try. To learn more about Catholic Charities' Family Self-Sufficiency Program, call 782 4233 or visit CatholicCharities.net.
Welcome back.
Es fabuloso verlos.
Dobrze jest znowu być razem.
It's good to be together again.
After so many months apart, pandemic capacity limits have been lifted, and we want to welcome everyone back to church. We can all pray together again. And listen as our choirs lift their voices in song.
We've been together in spirit.
And now, when you are ready, our doors are open wide.
Nuestras puertas están abiertas de par en par.
Nasze drzwi są otwarte.
And we're here to welcome you back to Catholic Mass.
Community is core to Catholic Charities' founding mission. For more than 100 years, we have met people and families where they are, serving anyone in need, regardless of their faith, gender, race, or ethnicity. As our world absorbs the economic, political, and social aftershocks of the pandemic, 50% or more of the 6 million people living in Cook and Lake counties have little or no savings. They are a paycheck away from zero. We are deeply grateful to everyone in the Catholic Charities community who partners with us to alleviate the suffering of the people we serve and offer them a better path forward. We are witnessing a message of mercy and hope to a world very much in need. Learn more at CatholicCharities.net.
We're back. WNDZ 750 AM, Catholic Chicago. 312-255-8408. You can go to youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. We're talking about food desert. Dr. Dwight Hearns.
I like that title. I like that name.
Yes.
I do too.
Dr. Dwight
Thank you.
Hearns. In your research on food deserts, where does senior citizen population fit into your plan for the future?
Senior citizens have a big part in trying to alleviate food deserts because not having access to healthy, nutritional food affects their health. It affects everyone's health. It was a huge deal that we experienced during the pandemic, where it was because of not eating properly or not eating fresh fruits and vegetables. Perhaps other pre-existing conditions occurred. So when the pandemic broke out, they were more susceptible to accessing that particular virus that was going on. And so the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, they knew about this even before the pandemic hit. They were very much aware of how the ailments of obesity, hypertension, heart disease, obesity, how they were going to be affected with this pandemic raging. So seniors absolutely have a big to do in the grand scheme of things. And my research unveiled that seniors will get to the store, like if it's a senior home, they may contract a bus to take them to a farmer's market or something like that once or twice a week, or they will get their neighbors or relatives to come and take them to the grocery store so they can buy their food.
Interesting. Sandra, we have teed up the conversation, the problem, the history. Now, what are some of the solutions that are taking place to change the whole scope of the situation?
For me, one of the biggest changes was working on a mayoral campaign that helped stop the way that they were doing the tickets in our neighborhood and other low income neighborhoods. So that way they would stop taking people's cars and be able to get to the grocery stores. There are, I know, like the Larry or the last mayor, Lori Lightfoot. She is doing some she started a program where they could invest in lower income neighborhoods to provide some of the TIF money to bring in the grocery stores, which is how local market was brought into our neighborhood. But we need more competition, because the more stores there are, the greater the competition. It's going to lower some of the prices, we hope, because I mean, the other day I had to go in there. I was going to make chicken Alfredo and I needed a stick of butter, and just a stick of butter alone was like $3.50.
Oh my gosh.
Where other grocery stores, it's like, you get the little Blue Bonnet for 4 sticks of butter for 89 cents. And here Blue Bonnet alone was $2.75. So it's like, it's too expensive. So we need more stores.
Now, Larry, as you look at being a resident in South Shore, what can you do? What can you do to the powers that be to move this equation forward?
Well, one of the things, Mark, that I'm involved with the South Shore community in terms of a quality of life committee. And as a result, we work very hard to try to improve things in the neighborhood, including the food desert. And the other thing I'd like to mention, it's part of this problem. I mean, we haven't really talked about it, but I think everybody knows in April of this past year, low-income people's link benefits went down dramatically. And that's because it was for the surplus during the pandemic, and then it stopped. Well, the problem is we well know in the last couple of years, the inflation rate, as Sandra just mentioned about the butter, every item goes up. And as a result, I know people in the parish that have had their benefit cut by almost 90%, where most people had 50%. And that again goes back to effect, even if you had a store, you can't afford what's there. So I think the South Shore community and Josephine Paquita, our parish, does try to influence the city to bring better services to our area.
Now, along those lines, Dwight, has the city contacted you with your background in this area? Because I'll be honest with you, I've heard very little about the whole term food deserts until today. And you realize the term goes back to the 1990s. Has the city contacted you, or have you been in contact with them in this whole area to move the conversation forward? Because many people take buying food for granted. You get in the car, you go a half mile away, you pick up the fruits and vegetables. It's not that way for everybody. And also, even access to some of the food areas in tougher neighborhoods becomes a scary condition for some people even to go to the store.
That is true. It's a good observation, Father Greg. And it wasn't that way in the 70s. My family moved into South Shore in the early 70s. And that was among white flight was in progress, but we still had like 4 or 5 different grocery stores within South Shore, within walking distance. When you have to travel, when you have to get in your car and go, that's time and expense in terms of gas to get there and do your shopping, all right? Where you can walk there, okay, it's a better deal. You take your grocery cart, you fill it up, and you walk to the store and come back. All right. And there's more a sense of community among people. You'll see some of your neighbors on several blocks away 2-3 days out of the week, or maybe just every Saturday. But going back to the beginning of your question, no, the city has not contacted me in regards to any of my research. I finished last year and I published a few months ago. So I have now I have copyright on everything, but I would love to work with the city or the forces that be to try and alleviate some of the issues that we're having. You know, some of those issues where we had grocery stores, like 4 Walmarts closing in the area. Okay, that's a huge loss. Okay, and some of our elected officials will say, "Oh, gee, they had no idea this was going on." It had to be some kind of, they had to have some kind of inclination that things weren't going right. But we do have some striking issues in the community and why these stores have left and why none are coming in.
Now,
as a city, we're going to have to deal with it. As residents, we're going to have to deal with it.
Everything old is new again. I wonder, when I was growing up, first of all, my grandpa was a peddler. He had a horse and buggy and went through the neighborhood selling vegetables, fruits. And when I grew up, we had every Tuesday, we knew Nick, the peddler, was coming through our neighborhood where we could go right out to the truck. And are there any other options people are thinking about in terms of possibly bringing food to the folk, especially seniors? I mean, I just thought that maybe it's an antiquated idea, but I thought, well, wait a minute, they brought nourishment to us.
We had a food job about 2 years ago when I was in the midst of my research. We had a food truck. Actually, it was a bus. It was an old CTA bus that was reconfigured so that we could, so that company would put fresh fruits and vegetables and drive in front of our church, St. Josephine Kita in South Shore. That was the only place it would go. We wanted it to go down 71st and in other communities, okay? But the alderman would not let us do that.
Oh, wow.
That happened to be an election year for her, and she wanted to partner with us and say, well, I help you guys get it. No, you didn't help us do anything. This is why we're doing this. Is why we're doing this.
Exactly.
Okay. And so she would not give us the approval. And so we only parked it in front of the church, and we advertised to some communities to come to the church this particular day and time, and they could purchase fresh fruits and vegetables.
We need to bring the program to a close. I want to thank in a very special way Dr. Dwight Hearns, Larry Campbell, Sandra Botella, for joining us on the program talking about food, deserts, an interesting topic. So to all three of you, thank you. God bless you. Keep up the great work you are doing. You are making a difference in the community. And thank you also to co-host Mark Teresi, and great job of our work, our producers, engineers, Michael May and Brian Hockey Hitman Brock. To our listeners, may God bless all of you. Father Greg Sackwoods, have a great week. Hard to believe that Saturday is July 1, but do keep in prayer July 4th, 1 year ago in Highland Park. We would lift up all those people in prayer. So God bless. Have a great week.
Join us every Monday through Friday at this time for Catholic Chicago. You can stream our programs live or listen to past programs by visiting our website, archchicago.org, and clicking on Radio TV. And please connect with Catholic Chicago on social media.